No one expected things to spiral this fast for Lance Stroll. After the qualifying round in Barcelona, reports started pouring in about a heated moment inside the garage. It wasn't just frustration. He reportedly smashed equipment, used harsh language with his team, and may have worsened a lingering wrist issue that's been troubling him since 2023. Now people are asking, is this the final chapter of his time in Formula One? The conversation isn't just about his on-track performance anymore. It's about whether he even wants to be here. From the paddock to social media, opinions are flying, and most aren't kind. Even team insiders admit that the seat he holds might be better used by someone more passionate. While some blame the system around him, especially the influence of his father who owns the team, there's growing talk that Lance himself may be ready to walk away from it all. And this time, the decision might come from him, not from a press release or contract negotiation. Those close to the situation know Lance has never shown the same level of passion for racing that others on the grid do. It's not a new observation. Fans, commentators, even his own team members have noticed his lack of enthusiasm during press events and media interactions. His body language often speaks louder than his words. It's clear he's not as invested as many of his competitors, and that disconnect might finally be catching up to him. Looking back, the wrist injury he suffered in early 2023 after a cycling accident never fully healed. It limited him at the beginning of the season and seems to have continued affecting his ability to perform. The recent emotional outburst in Spain might not have just been frustration, it could have been a direct response to intense physical discomfort. Being nearly half a second slower than Alonso in that round, especially under the shadow of an injury, must have added fuel to the fire. For someone already under pressure, that moment may have been the tipping point. After that qualifying session in Barcelona, one key detail stood out. Lance skipped the mandatory weigh-in. According to official F1 sporting rules, every driver who finishes Q1 or Q2 must report to the FIA scales immediately. But Lance didn't. An FIA statement confirmed that he was in significant pain, which could explain both his absence from the check-in and the emotional scene that followed in the garage. It's possible that the pain triggered his reaction rather than pure frustration. Still, it adds to the growing signs that he's struggling both physically and mentally with the demands of the sport. He's set to race in Canada, but that doesn't answer the bigger question. How long can he continue like this? His current situation seems unsustainable. The pattern isn't new either. Back in Qatar 2023, he lashed out again after being eliminated in qualifying. He even shoved his physio trainer, which forced him to issue a public apology. That incident alone raised eyebrows, showing cracks not just in performance but also in his mindset. People who followed Lance Stroll's radio conversations during races have noticed something troubling. His tone often lacks respect. When he speaks to his race engineer, there's a sense of irritation, even dismissal. It's hard to ignore when you compare it to how other drivers communicate. Critics have often compared him to drivers like Verstappen, who also gets heated on the radio, but there's a major difference. Max delivers results. That kind of intensity makes sense when you're consistently on the podium or in a title fight. For champions like Hamilton, Schumacher, Vettel, and Alonso, sharp words are sometimes part of the package. But when you're underperforming and occupying a highly coveted seat thanks to family influence, it becomes harder to justify. Lance's behavior doesn't match the results, and it puts his team in a difficult position. These people work around the clock, trying to squeeze every last bit of speed out of the car. Getting attitude in return doesn't help morale or the scoreboard. There's a simple truth that many in the paddock have quietly accepted. Formula One might not be where Lance belongs anymore. That may sound harsh, but when you step back and look at the bigger picture, it starts to make sense. He's had a long run in the most competitive and physically demanding racing series on the planet. He's proven he can handle an F1 car, no doubt about that. But just because someone can race in F1 doesn't always mean they should, especially when motivation and performance no longer go hand in hand. Interestingly, Lance hasn't limited himself to Formula One. He's already tested a Citroën C3 in a Rally 2 over in Portugal, a very different but still respected racing format. It might point to a shift in his interest. Perhaps he's considering options that match his energy better than F1 does right now. Sports car racing, especially endurance. Formats like Aston Martin's WEC team could provide a fresh start. Less spotlight, less pressure, and maybe a chance to enjoy racing again. If Lance ever decides to step away on his own terms, Aston Martin might quietly accept it, even welcome it. It's not just about performance anymore, it's about direction. The team is entering a new phase, and there are big names involved, people who expect nothing short of excellence. We're talking about world-class talent like Adrian Newey and high-level partnerships like the one with Honda. When such experienced figures get involved, they won't tolerate underperformance for long, no matter who the driver is. Even now, behind the scenes, meetings are likely happening. Engineers and strategists know that if their car has the potential to fight at the front, but one driver keeps dragging it down, that's a problem they can't ignore. Lance finishing low in Q1 or crashing out early while his teammate pushes for wins won't sit well with anyone, especially not with a team that's aiming for championship-level results within the next couple of years. What happens next could reshape Aston Martin's future entirely. They've got one of the most experienced drivers in the field with Alonso, but even he won't be around forever. The team clearly wants to extract every ounce of performance from their car before he eventually steps away. But the bigger question is, who will fill that second seat when the time comes? The buzz in the paddock hints at one clear target: Max Verstappen. With the sport heading into a new era, even Max might consider a change, especially if he's offered a machine that matches his hunger to win. And if Aston Martin can deliver that, you can bet serious conversations are already underway. Newey himself has said that Max will always follow performance. If the numbers back it up, why wouldn't he consider switching sides? Lance stepping away would create space, literally and symbolically, for Aston Martin to move ahead without emotional baggage. Drivers like Yuki Tsunoda could also enter the picture, especially with Honda still in the mix. The puzzle pieces are all on the table. Now it's just a matter of which ones Lawrence Stroll chooses to place, and which ones he's finally willing to let go of.